Hey everyone, hope you're all doing really good and welcome back to my channel. So, a very long time ago, I wanted to post this video about the return for coming from India to US back here, and a couple of videos that I did post during the pandemic was essentially how to travel around during the pandemic to India, because there was a lot of rules, there was a lot of documents that were needed, and I thought just me posting my perspective over there would be really helpful, and my videos did fairly well, so thank you so much for that. But I never got the luxury to actually post the return from India to US. It's a really long video considering I had to travel from Chennai to Delhi, and Delhi back to San Francisco is where I live. So I was like, finally I got to edit it, and that's when on April 30th, US announced this flight ban or travel ban for Indians who were residing in India for the last 14 days. Prohibiting them. So essentially not a ban on Indians in general, but a ban on flights coming from there because of the rising COVID cases. Essentially just messed it up, and a lot of people who travel during that time, especially non-immigrants, are trapped there and can't really make it back here, especially people who are working, people who are on visas. Essentially, people who are their temporary residence is here, they couldn't actually come back, and they're still trapped there, which is very disappointing. And it seems like it's about 2 months right now, and there is still no light at the end of the tunnel, and there is no news when it's going to get open. From what I've known is that a lot of the ban from Brazil still exists, and the ban for a couple of countries do exist, which had a very higher, relatively higher COVID cases compared to like other countries which still exist in the US. There's also Canadian flight bans as well, which is extended till July 21st. So there's a lot of flight bans from India, and a lot of people are trapped there. The exception to this rule are, however, your US citizens, your permanent residents, students, as well as people who can prove that their being in the country is of national interest. So to prove that is a little difficult. There obviously you need to go to the embassy, which are closed, and slowly some of them are opening, some of them aren't, and to get an appointment to actually prove this is becoming very tedious. So is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Well, probably, and that's what the video is going to cover. Okay, a couple of options for you to come back to the US. Well, one of the options is, of course, traveling to another country, staying there for 14 days and coming back here. Is that expensive? For sure. But what are the other options? Well, you need to wait it out. And as far as I know, like especially if you're an H-1B holder, waiting game is not going to be very effective, essentially because your salaries and everything are dependent on where you're living or where the location is for a particular time. Like after 60 days it does take into effect, which can be very emotionally tiring, taxative, as well as you are losing a lot of money here. So what are the other options? Well, a couple of options are Qatar. So flying to Qatar, essentially all Indians do not need a visa to be there, so it's actually visa free for Indians, so you can actually be there for 14 days. Just be there for book a hotel, just explore the city. There is no flight ban, so the couple of airlines that do carry people from India to Doha would be Qatar Airways, obviously, and probably other flight carriers. But given that you can go to Qatar, I would suggest going to Qatar Airways, staying there for 14 days, using essentially being in a hotel for 14 days. Qatar is expensive, so you might be spending some more for hotel stays, like food, exploring the city if you want to. Obviously with this in your mind, you might not be doing the best traveling or touristy stuff, but essentially that is an option. The other option is going to Mexico. For people who are H-1B holders, this is a really great and viable option because you don't again need another third-party visa for Mexico, so you can actually go there. It's very close to the US. You can actually drive there, or the flight from Mexico to the US is fairly cheaper than from Qatar to wherever destination is in US. So this is another option. Again, you can stay there for 14 days. The embassies in Mexico are open, so if you have to do any sort of visa stamping or any such embassy related stuff apart from that, I think Mexico is a great option. Qatar too, but if you are a tourist, like if you're on B1, B2 visa or H1B and you can splurge a little bit and stay there for 14 days, I would definitely suggest Qatar. Are there any other countries? For sure there are, but again, because of India, if you do have an Indian passport, flying to those countries would require a visa to that country, and you would actually have to spend another bit of extra money to go there, spend for that, and stay there for another 14 days and then come back. So that is adding an extra cost. So the two countries that I really suggest to go are Qatar and Mexico. So when is this madness gonna end? Well, a lot of rumors that I've read about, basically on Reddit, don't quote me on the source essentially, but I've read some theories that essentially after July 4th, they're gonna put up a proclamation that, there can be a flight bubble, or they're just gonna remove the ban, because most Americans are gonna be vaccinated. And essentially Biden's big bet was July 4th. Sure, he did slip a bit in the sense like there's only about 37% of Americans that are vaccinated, like fully vaccinated, about 50 to 60% getting the first dose. But is that going to stop people from coming? Probably not. This currently is having a huge effect on economy as well. So I see a lot of COVID sites, pop-up sites that did the testing last year, which was like this huge parking lots, where they used to have these events and everything are closing up. A lot of major vaccination sites in San Francisco, where I live, is also closing up. So I think there is a huge emphasis on everything getting closed up by July 4th, which is the next weekend. Maybe they might put some information around that time. My prediction is that around end of July, essentially following Canada's route, which is July 21st, around that time is when they're gonna like open it up. For now, what you guys can do if you don't want to consider Qatar and Mexico route is essentially open tickets, like do buy tickets, and airlines are pretty understanding because of the whole COVID scenario to actually like move your dates here and there. So there is no additional cost. One of the airlines that I suggest is United Airlines. I've had a great experience with them when I flew over this spring, essentially from SFO to Delhi. It was a great experience. Essentially, what I would suggest is that you do fly from Delhi because it is the capital, and I find that there are more options from there compared to the place that I stayed. I stayed in Chennai, and the only option was at that time was United. But there are a lot of options. There's Air France, there's Delta, and all that stuff. But I would highly suggest United, given that they do all the checks and balances just before you travel. So essentially, you're going to have a very smooth sort of travel to the US. One of the other stuff that you need to do is getting the COVID test. However, America essentially does not require you to show any sort of vaccination, unlike the other countries. For example, Emirates does require you to have vaccination documents, so you can actually download it. I think Cowin.com is essentially where you download your vaccination info, your card, or if you have any receipt saying that you are fully vaccinated, that's great. So, but US does not require any such documents. But if you are traveling, be prepared to show all that documents in the sense that, in India, like at least in the airport staff do like ask you for documents and everything, even though the port of entry in the US does not. So just be prepared to have all these documents in place. Do get vaccinated. I hear that it's very simple in India to just go around. There's government hospitals, there's private hospitals essentially doing that, and do get yourself the shot. And if you are like really doubtful about the efficacy and all that stuff, it's not that crazy. I mean, as long as you're vaccinated, you should be good. The other thing a lot of people are concerned about is that whether this is going to be lifted at all because of the Delta variant and a lot of scare. I did read that as long as you're vaccinated, you don't need to worry about any sort of variants. Variants reminds me of the Loki series. If you're looking at it, it's a great series, so do watch it. Sorry, I'll just come back to the video. So yeah, essentially, just get yourself vaccinated. Have all the tests. You do need a COVID test to get to get into a flight. So yeah, just get all those documents properly, and I think you're gonna have a really smooth plane ride back home. And I really hope you guys come back home soon, and this news comes out real soon. Obviously, it's getting a lot of strain and stress to a lot of people who are stuck there. So I hope the light comes real soon. So yeah, that's all y'all for this video. If you did like this video and if you want me to cover more topics on this, do comment down below, like this video, and that's all y'all. Hopefully I'll see you in another time in another video. Bye.